Hello, all of my crafty friends. I am so glad to be back here with you guys again today. I'm going to be sharing a video with you that is a part of a card hop. So make sure that you're looking in my description box below. Today, I am bringing to you guys another card using stamps from 7Kids Crafts. And this little fairy right here, this little ladybug, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Oh, okay. This stamp set is called Camping Fairies. So I decided that I wanted to use this one. This is a part of a new release that she has over at the 7Kids Craft store, and I will have all of it linked below. So I'm going to bring out a piece of Nina Solar White Classic Crest 80-pound cardstock, and I'm going to use all of these images that I have pointed out to you. I'm going to bring in my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I am going to stamp that out because, of course, we're going to do some alcohol marker coloring today. So I get that stamped out. Now, because these were newer stamps, I did stamp them, I think, twice to get me a really nice outline, but it did come out fairly well the first time. Now, I am going to put all my numbers up on the screen because for some reason, I don't know why, my numbers have now started appearing backwards on my video. So I wanted it to be, my camera to be turned to where you could see things the way that I was, but then I think I did a glitch and I have to figure that out. So the numbers will be placed up on the screen. I'm going to start out with her skin tone. So I'm doing 3 color blends mostly because although these images are not super tiny, there's not a huge amount of real estate. So I left all of the coloring in. I hope that that makes most of my people pretty happy. So while I'm doing some of this coloring, let me go ahead and give you guys a little bit of information for the hop. So this is a small hop. There is only 3 of us who are in the hop. So I will link to the next person in the hop in my description box. There is going to be a giveaway along with this hop, and that giveaway will be a $20 gift card to the store. You have until July 17th to drop a comment to enter into the giveaway. So you guys make sure that you're liking, make sure that you're commenting. And I just wanted to say, if any of you guys are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you have a wonderful experience, and I hope that you guys will stick around and come back. So if you are sticking around and coming back, there's also a subscribe button. I would love for you to click that, and there's a bell icon beside it so that you'll know whenever I upload a video. So the gift card will be $20 to the 7Kids Craft store, and I promise you, you will not be sorry. I think in my last video, I told you guys all of the different brands that are offered at the 7Kids Craft store, in addition to the owner beginning to illustrate some of her own, stamps, or have some of her own stamps illustrated. So I am doing the fairy right now, and she's in this cute little sleeping bag that looked to me as if she was sleeping underneath a leaf. And so what I decided was to color her sleeping bag, quote unquote, as if it were a leaf. And because she is underneath the sleeping bag, it seems like it's rounded more on the top. So the top, if there were light, light of the moon, light of the fire, would probably be coming from more toward the top, because that is the highest point. So that's why you see that my darkest color is closer toward what I will say is the ground, and the lighter color is coming up toward the center. I wanted to make that look as if it had some roundness because her little body is tucked underneath it. Again, using very simple color blends. I don't think I use this YG and G combination very often, but I really did like the way that it came out for coloring up some of my leaves. Now, these leaves that we have behind her head, again, her head will be the place that is causing the shadow. And then that big leaf is laying on top of those smaller leaves, so it would cast a shadow on that as well. So that is the way that I'm coloring that out, and I wanted to make that top leaf looked like it was bowing out on the edges, so that's why you see my lighter colors on the edges. Now for her little hut, it looked like a flower petal to me that was turned upside down, and so that is the way that I colored it. Those top pieces I colored as if they were leaves, and then the bottom portion I colored as if it were petals on the flowers. Initially I forgot to color that little stem part, and so I think I colored it gold a little bit later. For this darling, oh my gosh, darling little baby ladybug. Again, the body is underneath the leaf, so I wanted to make it appear as if it were rounded. However, when I'm looking at this again, I think that the roundedness should have come up from the front and the back and not the sides, but it's okay. It is a picture that I am coloring and a card that I'm going to give away from my heart. So I'm sure that no one is going to look and say, you didn't make that light source the right way. So I went with it. I am going to also use this red combination that I haven't used before, because of course most of the times I use a 4-color blend, and I am going to be coloring this up because I thought that maybe the inside of her covers or sleeping bag was a nice soft flower petal. So trying to make sure that I have some cohesion in my items, so I try to pick a couple color combinations that I can use throughout my coloring. And so what that means is, you saw that I placed a small amount of red in her sleeping bag. I'm going to have a medium amount of red in the ladybug. And then my large amount of red is going to be this flower. And that's kind of the way I try to keep my mind going whenever I am coloring. It does not always work, and I don't think that it's imperative, but I think sometimes it offers a little more balance to the way that your card looks and comes out. So I've been trying to be a little bit more mindful of that rule of threes or the rule of odds. And then the small, medium, large. I think I heard that the first time from maybe Kelly Latival, and I think she uses like pint, quart, gallon, or cup, pint, quart, something to that effect. But you know, that would sound too much like work for me. So I just say small, medium, large. So I'm going to put a little bit here, a little bit more here, and a lot of it here. The same thing that I did with my greens, and to me that tries to show the cohesion of the coloring. So off of that soapbox, I guess, I go in with this, and again, I'm doing kind of that rounded thing. I think I wanted everything to look round, which to me, most of the objects in this did look as if it had a rounded appearance. I'm going to move on to my ladybug, and again, I'm starting with where I want my darkest places to be. It's kind of like that outlining. For her, because she is so small, but there are so many things that are probably casting a shadow, I had to be very light-handed, which meant I was trying to have my marker tip being the only part that was touching the paper. I had to be very careful because it would have been very easy to just color the whole thing with one color if you weren't careful with your markers. Then with her spots, I'm going to go back and add the C9 to this because I did not like how light it still was. I did want to show some variation in color, but I thought that the C7 was still not dark enough for my darkest color. It was for her face because I didn't want her face to be super dark, but I added the C9 right here to the dots on her, and I think I like that a lot better. Now for her wings, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with her wings, but I wanted them to look light, but I wanted them to have some color, so I just blended in some 00 markers to give some color variation. Then I brought in another 3-color blend for me to color up the wood for the wood post and the wood in the fire, and this did not have a whole lot going on, like not a lot of not a lot of real estate. So I was not able to do a lot of shading and showing texture in the wood, but it was okay. I just tried to add just a little bit of color variation. And here I brought in a little bit more gray for coloring up this candle holder and also the hook that the candle is held on by. Next, we're going to move on to the wood that is colored in for this this fire, and then I brought in another color combination to actually color in the fire, which are some YRs. I think it would have been a really great idea to add in a little bit of that red from the ladybug and the flower into the base of my flames, just to give it a little bit more depth, but I didn't, so decisions were made. So next we go in. I've had my scan and cut all of this out, and it did a beautiful job. And now I'm going to bring in some of my card pieces. I've gone into my Cricut and I've had it create a slimline card design for me that have 3 layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my shimmer cardstock and then my blue true brush cardstock, and then I will have this window. And what I'm going to do is we're going to create a shaker. And then I'm going to make my inside panel. I have had my Cricut cut out an inside sentiment for me as well. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I call a dry run, and I'm going to go in and try to figure out where I'm going to want everything to be placed on my image. Or on my panel, I guess is the best way to say it. I should have probably taken a picture, because after I got done and took everything off, I didn't have everything placed the way that I wanted it to. I really enjoyed the way that this was placed the first time. However, it still came out super cute. So once I have that figured out and I know where I'm going to place everything, I'm bringing out 2 pieces of acetate and my foam tape, as well as my 1/8 inch score tape. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this first panel over that has all of the windows in it, and I'm going to go all the way around it with my 1/8 inch score tape. Now, when I put my score tape all the way around, what I typically do is I bend back 1 corner of each side of my tape. This allows me to get my acetate or paper, whatever I am adhering it to, down straight, because you know this is super tacky and it's very difficult to get back up once you put it down. So I use that to line up. Once I get everything lined up where I want it to be, I use those little strips to pull the rest of the tape away. And that usually works out very well for me. I still don't line up things perfectly and I have to use my scissors, but it makes it a lot easier. Now I'm going to bring in my Scotch 3M foam tape, and I am going to go all the way around that, and on my edges I have to cut my foam tape in half because the edges are a little bit skinnier. And I'm going to double up my foam tape. I'm going to put 2 layers of foam tape down simply because I want to put in a good amount of shaker bits. And if you notice, I have put in some sections because I want each of those windows to be its own section when I am putting in the shaker bits. So I doubled all of that up, and once I get all of that doubled up, I'm going to trim off any of the excess that I have, and I'm going to bring in my anti-static powder tool, and I'm going to powder inside all of that acetate, and this will just take away some of the static and stickiness. I'm going to bring in some of my sequin mixes. I don't remember where this one was from. This one was from an Hero Arts kit that we got earlier in the year. That's a Studio Katia mix, and this is a Studio Katia mix. So I will try to make sure that I get all of that stuff linked below for you guys. But these are the mixes that I used, and I tried to be a little more heavy-handed because I find sometimes I will think I'm being heavy-handed, but then once I get my shaker sealed up, I feel like there is not enough shaker bits inside, and I like to have some of that shaking element, and I want those elements to be seen as a piece of the focal point of the card. So what I'm doing is the same thing that I did with my score tape. I am going to bend back just the edges. I'm going to get my other piece of acetate layered, and then I will pull those away. And the reason that I do a double layer of acetate is so that I don't have to worry about how I'm going to get that placed onto my card panel. Now I'm going to bring out some more of my score tape. Because I'm using a very shimmery surface for the front of my card, I did not want to fuss and wait for liquid glue to dry. So I went ahead and I backed all of my images with the score tape. This is the 1/8 inch score tape, again by ScorePal, and I adhered all of my images with that. All of my images are laying completely flat except for the sentiment that will be popped up. You guys know that I enjoy making double, triple, or quadruple layers for my sentiment so that it looks like a chipboard piece. So I'm going to get everything placed. And again, this is where I noticed that I didn't have my placement exactly correct. So I was having to fiddle with this again to get the placement of all of my elements in order to complete the card. So once I get those things placed, the last thing that I'll place down is the fire. And I was just kind of thinking of where I wanted the fire to be so that the placement of my highlights in my card would make a little bit of sense. So now we have all those things placed there. The next thing that we're going to move on to doing is our sentiment. Now I have cut out this shadow 4 times, kind of thinking about where I want that to be. And then I cut out the top layer of the sentiment, which is the word believe, in some of the Cricut Holographic vinyl. I really enjoy this vinyl. It gave a very sparkly effect and it goes along with the theme of the card. I felt like it matched that shimmer paper very well and kind of again tied that in. I used my art glitter glue from MMedel to glue together all of my layers, and then I'm going to back that with some score tape as well. And that will be placed in the center of 2 of the windows. Now I'm going to take my True Brush vinyl. This is the Cool Water True Brush vinyl, and that was the same thing that I used for my shadows. And I am going to adhere my front panel to this mat here. I am using the score tape again to get this taped down very well because again this is a shiny and slick surface that I am using to adhere my front panel to. Now I'm going to double mat that. You guys know I love to double mat my cards, so I'm going to bring in another piece of that shimmer paper and I'm going to mat it on. And if you guys have watched any of my videos, you guys know I give myself guidelines so that I can make sure that my card panels are straight. So here's the front panel of our card. We're going to move on to doing the inside panel of our card. And what I have done here is I took another small element from the stamp set and I wanted to stamp this out multiple times going across the top to kind of create a banner of some sort, maybe a valance. I don't know. I just enjoyed the way that it looked. So I stamped it all the way across the front portion or the top portion of this card, giving it a slight angle on either side. Once I have that done, I am going to move in with some vinyl that I had cut out with the Cricut, and I am going to create my inside sentiment that is going to go along with the sentiment that I created on the outside. So once we get all of that done, and I did use some of the holographic vinyl that I used on the outside, on the inside as well, to adhere my sentiment on the inside. And the inside says, the most wonderful fairy tale is life itself. So it kind of goes, believe the most wonderful fairy tale is life itself. So I wanted my outside sentiment to coordinate with my inside sentiment. So now that we have all of that placed together, I am going to make my card base. You guys know that I score on both sides, so I don't have to worry about which side I'm folding my card on. And then I have my guidelines to help me line up my card panels onto my card base. And once I get all of that lined up, we are almost done. You know, I'm going to bring in just a little bit of shimmer and a couple of gems. So I brought in my gold jelly roll pen, and I'm going to use that to place some of the stitching on her bag. I'm going to place it in the center of her flower. That's what I'm going to use to color in the stem of the rose that I completed. I'm also going to put in some silver jelly roll pen and my Sakura shimmer pen. That's what it's called. I could not remember for a second. I'm going to place my shimmer pen all over everything because I want everything to shine. Then I'm going to take some of those sequins that are used for the inside of the mix, and I'm going to sprinkle those throughout the front of the card. Once I get all of that placed down, that will be the end of the card. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure that you guys check the description box, hop along, and make sure that you enter for the giveaway that is going on over at the 7 Kids Craft store. I will see you guys again very, very soon in our next video. I hope that you guys keep everything crafty and enjoy the remainder of your day. All right, guys.